The sun hung low in the sky, casting an amber glow over the familiar facade of my childhood home. I stood at the threshold, heart racing, the scent of freshly cut grass mingling with the bittersweet aroma of impending revelations. Today was my mother Evelyn's baby shower, a celebration meant to be filled with laughter and joy, but the air was thick with unspoken tension. As I stepped inside, the sound of cheerful chatter echoed off the walls, but I felt like an outsider in my own life, a spectator rather than a participant. /N, the living room was adorned with pastel balloons and streamers, each one a reminder of the innocence that had long since evaporated from our family. I could see my mother, radiant in her role, laughing with friends, but beneath her smile lay a web of secrets I was desperate to unravel. I had received a gift earlier that day, a small box wrapped in delicate paper which I had yet to open. It felt like a ticking time bomb, a harbinger of the truth that would shatter the fragile peace we pretended to maintain. /N as I moved through the crowd, my best friend Maya caught my eye, her presence a comforting anchor amidst the chaos. She approached, her brow furrowed with concern. "You okay?" she whispered, sensing my unease. I nodded, though my heart betrayed me, pounding loudly in my chest. I could feel the weight of expectations pressing down on me, the unrelenting pressure to keep the family's facade intact. But how could I celebrate when I was suffocating under the weight of my mother's betrayal? /N Maya pulled me aside, her voice low. "You need to talk to her, Natalie. You can't keep this bottled." I glanced back at Evelyn, who was now surrounded by family, laughter spilling from her lips like a cruel joke. The moment felt pivotal, the air crackling with potential. I had to confront the truth, to peel back the layers of deceit that had become our family's identity. But with every step toward her, I felt the familiar tug of confusion and fear. Would she deny it? Would she twist my words, making me doubt my own reality? /N just then, as if orchestrated by fate, I caught a glimpse of the gift I had received earlier. My fingers itched to open it, to expose whatever secrets it might hold. I felt a rush of determination coursing through me. Today I would seek answers. Today I would confront my mother, no matter the cost. As the laughter erupted around me, I steeled myself for the inevitable clash, knowing that the truth was waiting just beneath the surface, ready to break free. /N the air was thick with the scent of rosemary and garlic as I sat at the dinner table, the flickering candlelight casting shadows that danced across the walls of our neatly arranged dining room. My family gathered around, their laughter ringing hollow against the backdrop of my racing thoughts. I could see my mother, Evelyn, at the head of the table, her smile bright but her eyes darting, betraying a tension that seemed to vibrate through the room like an electric current. It was a masquerade of normalcy, but I felt like a ghost haunting a celebration meant for the living. /N I shifted uncomfortably in my seat, the wooden chair creaking beneath me, a stark contrast to the polished veneer of the table that held our carefully curated dinner. Each bite of food felt like a betrayal, a reminder of the secrets that simmered just beneath the surface. My heart sank as I glanced at my brother, who engaged in small talk, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in my mind. I wanted to connect, to find comfort in family ties, but the weight of Evelyn's hidden agendas loomed over me, suffocating any warmth that might have lingered. /N Natalie, you're awfully quiet, Evelyn said, her voice sweet but edged with something sharper. I could feel the eyes of my family on me, their expectations pressing down like a heavy blanket. I forced a smile, my stomach churning as I contemplated the gift I had received earlier, the one that had set my world on this collision course. What did it mean? Why had it been given to me? /N Maya's words echoed in my mind, urging me to confront the truth. As I shifted again, this time nervously tapping my fingers against the table, I could see her across the room, her expression a mix of concern and encouragement. I needed her support, but how could I ask for it when I felt so lost? The laughter around me felt like a cruel joke, and I longed to scream for the truth to spill out, to shatter the facade we had created. /N as dinner progressed, the conversation flowed like a river, but I remained trapped on the banks, watching from a distance. The clinking of silverware against plates was a rhythmic reminder of the normalcy I craved but couldn't reach. I caught Evelyn's gaze, and for a moment I thought I saw a flicker of something: fear, guilt. But she quickly masked it with a smile, and I felt my heart constrict with frustration. I needed to break through this charade, to shatter the glassy surface of our family's secrets. What would it take to connect with her, to bridge the chasm of betrayal that separated us? /N the moment I stepped into Evelyn's office, the air felt electric, thick with unspoken words and hidden truths. The walls, lined with family portraits, seemed to watch me, their painted smiles mocking my turmoil. I could hear the faint ticking of a clock, each tick a reminder of the urgency pounding in my chest. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms, as I prepared to confront the woman I had trusted most, yet who had betrayed me in ways I couldn't yet fully comprehend. We need to talk, I declared, my voice steady despite the tempest within me. Evelyn looked up from her desk, surprise flickering across her face before she quickly masked it with a practiced calm. The tension radiating off her was palpable, a thick fog that enveloped us both. About what, dear, she replied, her tone deceptively sweet, as if she could charm her way out of this conversation. I took a deep breath, the familiar scent of her floral perfume mixing with the musty smell of old papers around us. About the gift I received at the baby shower, I said, my heart racing. I could feel the weight of my words hanging in the air between us, a line drawn in the sand. Evelyn's expression hardened, the warmth in her eyes replaced by a cold, calculating gaze. You shouldn't dwell on trivial matters, Natalie. It was just a harmless gift, her dismissive tone ignited a fire within me. I fought to keep my emotions in check, my body tense as I leaned forward. Harmless. You know it's anything but that, I shot back, my voice rising. The truth felt like a tidal wave ready to crash over us, and I was determined to ride its wave. Why did you give me that? What were you trying to, and she stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor, a sharp, jarring sound that echoed in the silence. You're overreacting, Natalie. You have no idea what you're talking about, The defensiveness in her voice was a red flag waving furiously, urging me to push harder. In that moment, I recalled childhood memories, moments of laughter and warmth that were now tainted with doubt. I had once viewed her as a protector, but now I felt like a soldier facing an enemy. You can't keep lying to me, I exclaimed, my voice trembling with anger and betrayal. I searched her eyes for a hint of remorse or vulnerability, but all I found was steely resolve. And the confrontation spiraled into chaos as Evelyn's composure began to crack. This isn't how family acts, Natalie, she shouted, her voice echoing off the walls, a desperate plea mingled with frustration. My heart pounded, the urgency pushing me to fight for the truth. Maybe family should start being honest with each other, I retorted, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. I felt a mix of empowerment and fear. The storm was finally here, and I was ready to face it. But as quickly as it began, the moment shattered. Evelyn's expression shifted from anger to a chilling calm, her lips curling into a smile that felt more like a threat than comfort. You have no idea what you're asking for, Natalie. Some truths are better left buried, her words lingered in the air like a dark promise, igniting a flicker of doubt in my mind. And I stepped back, the weight of her warning settling heavily on my shoulders. The confrontation had only deepened the rift between us, creating a chasm I feared might never be bridged. I left her office, my heart heavy with unanswered questions and a burgeoning desire for revenge, the urgency to act consuming me as I faced the reality of our fractured bond. And the rain pattered steadily against the windshield of my car, each drop a reminder of the turmoil swirling inside me. I parked outside Maya's apartment, the familiar warmth of her home beckoning me amidst the storm of emotions. I could smell the rich aroma of coffee wafting through the air, a comfort I desperately needed. As I stepped inside, the door creaked softly, and Maya looked up from the couch, her concern evident in her eyes. You look like you've seen she said, setting her mug down. And I sank onto the couch, my shoulders heavy with the weight of my choices. I feel like one, honestly. I confronted my mother, but all I got was more questions. She just deflected everything. My voice cracked, the frustration bubbling over as I recounted the chaotic confrontation. Maya listened intently, her brow furrowed as I spoke. What did she say? Maya prompted, her tone steady, urging me to dig deeper. I took a deep breath, recalling Evelyn's sharp words like daggers. She said some truths are better left buried. It's like she's hiding something monumental, and it terrifies me. I need to know. My fists clenched, a physical manifestation of the determination coursing through me. And Maya shifted closer, her expression softening. But at what cost, Natalie? Revenge isn't always the answer. You risk losing everything you love. And I sighed, the internal battle raging within me. Could she even understand the depth of my betrayal? I know what I risk, but I can't just let it go. What if this secret destroys? I felt a surge of desperation, each word a plea for understanding. And Then let's figure out how to expose it without losing yourself in the process, Maya suggested, her eyes brightening with a spark of hope. The idea of a plan took root, and I felt a flicker of excitement mixed with fear. We can devise something clever. It has to be proportional, We brainstormed, plotting our course of action. The tension in my chest began to ease, but the reality of what lay ahead loomed large. I knew that pursuing revenge could lead me down a dark path, yet the thought of remaining in the shadows of my mother's lies felt unbearable. The weight of my moral compass balanced precariously against my thirst for truth, and I was ready to tip the scales, no matter the consequences. And the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the living room as I sat at the family table, the remnants of an unfinished dinner still lingering in the air. The scent of burnt casserole clung to the walls, mingling with the faint traces of desperation that seemed to seep from each crevice of our home. My mother, Evelyn, sat across from me, her gaze flickering to the floor as if the very tiles were hiding the truths we both feared. I had hoped tonight would be different, that we could somehow bridge the chasm between us, but the weight of unspoken words hung heavily in the air, suffocating any semblance of peace. Natalie, we can work through this, can't we? Evelyn's voice trembled, a half-hearted plea that felt like a crumbling facade. I leaned forward, the wooden chair creaking beneath me as I felt my pulse quicken. You say that, but how can I trust you again? You've built your life on lies, and I'm left picking up the pieces. My words dripped with bitterness, yet there was a flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this time would be different. The flickering candlelight cast shadows on her face, revealing the stress etched into her features. And her eyes met mine, and for a brief moment, I saw vulnerability reflected there. I never wanted to hurt you, Natalie. You have to believe me. We can still be a family. The sincerity in her tone pulled at something deep within me, a longing for the bond we once shared. But as I searched her face, the memories of betrayal clouded my judgment. I recalled laughter that felt hollow now, moments of warmth overshadowed by the chilling reality of her deceit. Family. What does that even mean when trust is shattered? I countered, my voice rising with the intensity of my emotions. I felt a surge of determination, pushing me to confront the painful truths that had plagued us for too long. I needed to know if this was just another act in her performance or if she truly sought reconciliation. I need you to be honest with me, Evelyn. What are you hiding? The question hung between us like a specter, demanding acknowledgement. And instead of responding, she turned her gaze to the window, the fading light illuminating her expression of resignation. Some things are better left unsaid, Natalie. I thought you understood that. The weight of her words felt like a final nail in the coffin of our attempts at peace. My heart sank, disappointment washing over me like a cold wave, forcing me to confront the painful truth that I had hoped against hope would not be real. This was not a family in recovery. This was a family in denial, unwilling to face the darkness that loomed over us. And the aftermath of my confrontation with Evelyn settled around me like a heavy fog, each breath a reminder of the chaos that had just unfolded. I stood in the living room, the remnants of our dinner scattered across the table, the flickering candlelight casting wavering shadows that mirrored my turbulent emotions. I could still hear her words echoing in my mind, the chilling promise that some truths were better left buried. It felt like a dare, a challenge that ignited a spark deep within me. And I paced back and forth, my fingers brushing against the cool, polished surface of the dining table, the wood smooth yet unyielding beneath my touch. Memories swirled around me, moments of laughter, of warmth that now felt tainted. I recalled the times I had confided in Evelyn, trusting her completely, only to have that trust shattered like glass. Each step I took felt heavier, burdened by the weight of unanswered questions that pressed against my chest. What am I supposed to do now? I muttered to myself, the sound of my voice breaking the silence that enveloped the room. I longed for clarity, yet all I felt was a chaotic whirlwind of emotions, anger, confusion, a desperate need for resolution. I sank onto the couch, the plush fabric enveloping me as I buried my face in my hands, trying to steady my racing thoughts. How could she betray me like this? I had always believed in family bonds, yet here I was, facing the reality of betrayal that cut deeper than any knife. And the faint hum of the clock on the wall pulled me back from the brink of despair, each tick a reminder that time was slipping away. I needed to act to regain control over my narrative. I can't let her, I whispered fiercely, the resolve building inside me like a flame. I could feel the shift within me, the determination hardening into a plan. I would not let my mother's secrets define me any longer. And as I sat there, the darkness of the moment began to morph into something else, an opportunity for change, for confrontation. I thought of Maya's words, her support anchoring me amidst the storm. I needed to take charge, to devise a strategy that would expose the truths Evelyn was so desperate to keep hidden. With each passing moment, my resolve crystallized. I would uncover the layers of deceit and find a way to reclaim my life, no matter the cost. This was the turning point, the beginning of my journey toward vengeance and the clarity I so desperately sought. Backslash and the dim light of my bedroom flickered as I sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by scattered papers and half-empty coffee cups. The faint sound of rain tapping against the window created a rhythm that matched my racing thoughts. My best friend Maya was perched on the edge of my bed, her brow furrowed in concentration as we mapped out my plan for revenge. It felt surreal, as if we were plotting a heist rather than a confrontation with the woman who had shattered my world. Backslash and backslash and backslash. Okay, so what's our first move? Backslash, Maya asked, her voice steady, but I could see the flicker of concern in her eyes. I could almost taste the adrenaline as I replied, backslash, we need to find out everything we can about that gift from the baby shower. It has to be the key to unraveling my mother's lies. Backslash, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. The mere thought of what I was about to do made my palms sweat. Backslash and Maya nodded, her fingers tapping against her knee nervously. Backslash, but Natalie, you need to think about the consequences. If you expose her, what's next? Are you ready for the— I could feel the weight of her words, the gravity of the situation pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. Yet the thought of living in ignorance was a fate worse than the potential chaos that lay ahead. Backslash, I have to know the truth, no matter what. This ends with me being the one who takes control of my life. Backslash, I declared, a fierce determination igniting within me. Backslash n as I spread the papers across the floor, detailing my mother's connections and past secrets, I noticed a glimmer of something, a photo of my mother and a man I didn't recognize. The sight sent a jolt through me, sparking a memory from my childhood, a fleeting moment of her laughter shared with someone who wasn't family. I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts. This was not the time for distractions. Backslash, we can set up a meeting with one of her old friends, someone who might know more about her past. Backslash, Maya suggested. The idea took root in my mind, growing into a plan that felt both thrilling and terrifying. My heart raced at the thought of digging deeper, of exposing the layers of deceit. But was I prepared for what I might uncover? Backslash, let's do it. We can meet her next week. I'll text you the details later. Backslash, I said, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. The thrill of revenge coursed through my veins, but with it came a chilling realization. I was stepping onto a path that could lead to my own destruction. As I looked at Maya, her expression mirrored my own turmoil. I knew we were both in this together, but the stakes had never been higher. My quest for truth was about to begin, and I could only hope it wouldn't consume me in the process. Backslash, and the tension crackled in the air as I stood outside Evelyn's office, my heart pounding like a war drum. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving the hallway drenched in shadows. I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, the burden of my choices pressing down as I prepared to face my mother for the final confrontation. The scent of old books mixed with the faint whiff of her floral perfume, creating a disorienting blend that made my stomach churn. Backslash, and I pushed the door open, the hinges creaking ominously as I stepped inside. Evelyn sat behind her desk, her expression a mask of calm that barely concealed the storm brewing beneath. Backslash, Natalie, what's this? She asked, her voice deceptively sweet, but I could hear the tremor beneath it. Backslash, it's about the gift, Mom, the one that revealed your betrayal. I need you to admit it. Backslash, my voice rang out, cutting through the heavy silence like a blade. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment I thought I saw fear flicker across her face. I took a step forward, my fists clenched, every nerve in my body screaming for the truth. Backslash, you think you know everything, but you're just a child playing with fire. Backslash, she retorted, rising from her chair, the anger radiating off her like heat from a flame. I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my veins, igniting a fire within me. Backslash, child, I'm 30, and I've endured your lies for too long. Backslash, I shot back, my voice rising in intensity. Each word felt like a blow, striking against the walls of deception that had surrounded us for so long. I was no longer the scared little girl. I was a woman demanding answers. Backslash, and Evelyn's facade began to crack, her composure slipping as frustration twisted her features. Backslash, you don't understand the consequences of what you're asking for. Backslash, she spat, desperation creeping into her tone. My heart raced, the thrill of confrontation coursing through me like electricity. Backslash, maybe it's time I did. Backslash, I replied, my voice steady. The realization of the power I held surged through me, a wave of liberation. I had come too far to back down now. The truth was a weapon, and I was ready to wield it. As the tension reached its boiling point, I knew this was the moment I had been waiting for. /N, drawing a deep breath, I pressed forward, my eyes locked onto hers. All I want is the truth, Evelyn. No more lies, this is the end of your games, The room felt charged, as if the very walls were leaning in to hear what would unfold next. N, in that moment, I was prepared for whatever came next. I was ready to face the consequences of my pursuit of justice, no matter how devastating they could be. N, as we stood there, two opposing forces caught in a battle of wills, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. This was it, the climax of my journey. I would reclaim my power, and with it the truth, no matter the cost. And the aftermath of my confrontation with Evelyn felt like a storm had passed, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. I stood in the quiet of my room, the faint smell of rain lingering in the air, mingling with the scent of coffee that Maya had brewed earlier. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting soft beams that illuminated the chaos of my thoughts. I felt a mixture of relief and uncertainty, my heart still racing from the intensity of our clash. The truth had been laid bare, and now I was left to sift through the rubble of our shattered relationship. N, Evelyn had stormed out of her office, her face a mask of anger and fear, leaving me grappling with the weight of her words. Some truths are better left buried, echoed in my mind, a chilling reminder that the battle was far from over. I recalled the flicker of vulnerability I had seen in her eyes, but it was quickly overshadowed by the coldness of her facade. Had I really expected her to change? The anger that had fueled my confrontation now morphed into a deep-seated sadness. I had sought answers but found only more questions, and the emptiness left behind was palpable. N, as I sank onto my bed, the soft fabric beneath me felt like an anchor amidst the turmoil. My phone buzzed, and I glanced at the screen to find a message from Maya, her words a lifeline in this sea of confusion. You did it, Nat. I'm proud of you. Let's talk when you're ready. Her unwavering support wrapped around me like a warm blanket, reminding me of the strength that lay not just within me, but also in the connections I cherished. I knew I couldn't face this alone. N, days passed, each one a blur of introspection and emotional upheaval. I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me, the haunting realization that revenge would only lead to more pain. I had wanted to expose Evelyn, to confront her with the truth of her betrayal, but now I was left grappling with the consequences of my actions. I recalled the laughter we once shared, the warmth of family gatherings, and the innocence of childhood memories that had been tainted by lies. N, in the quiet moments, I began to understand that the path to healing would not come from vengeance but from acceptance. I needed to find a way to reconcile my past with the present, to learn to forgive, not just Evelyn, but myself as well. I picked up my journal, the pages filled with my thoughts and fears, and began to write. This ends with me. I will not be reduced to a punchline in my own story. With each word, I felt a sense of liberation, a step toward reclaiming my narrative. N, finally, I reached out to Evelyn, the weight of my decision heavy on my heart. I suggested a meeting, a chance to talk openly about the pain and the distance that had grown between us. As I awaited her response, I felt a mix of hope and trepidation. Perhaps there was a way forward, a chance to rebuild what had been lost. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face the future, one filled with possibility and the promise of healing. My journey toward peace had only just begun. N, as I sat in my room, a wave of calm washed over me, the chaos of the past few weeks receding like a distant storm. The sunlight streamed through my window, illuminating the pages of my journal scattered across the desk, filled with my thoughts and revelations. I had faced the tempest of betrayal and emerged, not unscathed, but with a deeper understanding of myself and the complexities of family dynamics. The weight of vengeance had lifted, replaced by a commitment to healing and growth. I realized that my journey was not solely about confronting Evelyn. It was about reclaiming my narrative and finding peace within myself. N, Maya had been my rock throughout this tumultuous time, her unwavering support a reminder that I was not alone. We had shared countless conversations, mapping out the path toward forgiveness, not just for Evelyn, but also for myself. Each discussion felt like a step toward liberation, a way to transform pain into strength. I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but I was ready to embrace it with open arms. N, I took a moment to reflect on how I had turned my pain into purpose. My story was one of resilience, and I wanted to share it with others who might be grappling with similar struggles. The thought of connecting with an audience, of offering a sense of community through shared experiences, filled me with anticipation. I envisioned a platform where I could inspire others to confront their truths and seek healing, just as I had begun to do. /n/n with a deep breath, I made a decision. I would start a channel, a space for storytelling and connection, where I could help others navigate their own journeys of betrayal and forgiveness. I felt a thrill of excitement at the prospect, eager to turn my experiences into a source of strength for myself and others. /n/n as I prepared to share my story, I reminded myself of the importance of community and connection. I wanted to invite everyone on this journey with me, so I urged you, dear viewer, to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Together, we could explore the complexities of our lives and find solace in the shared experience of healing.